Hello from the Dukascopy TV studio in Geneva. I'm Daniel Schwenger. Alongside me to discuss investment opportunities in small and mid-sized companies is Mr. Nick Williams. He is head of small cap equities at Barings Asset Management. Nick, welcome to the studio.
Thank you, Daniel.
Europe currently finds itself in a situation of structural and political challenges with slow economic growth and an unsteady economic perspective, I would say. And this could hide good investment opportunities, especially in the small and medium-sized sector. So what is your company focusing on, and what are your core principles, and what is the time frame for investment at Barings Asset Management?
Well, Daniel, we have a clear and concise process that we've stuck with for the last 10 years. And despite the slightly unfavorable economic environment, we've stuck to these principles because we think they work. So we like companies with a good track record, with solid balance sheets, with strong profits coming from the core area of their business. And then we try to get to know these companies well. We try to understand what drives their profits. And if we can get used to these things and get comfortable with it, then that's how we see that we are going to identify good companies for the future.
Due to the pessimistic sentiment in Europe, there might be low valuations and good buying opportunities. So what investment opportunities are you currently focusing on?
Well, I think it's a great opportunity right now in smaller companies because people are so negative about Europe. Clearly the headlines are not positive, and the economic growth rate in Europe is really not very exciting. But at the same time, the valuations of European smaller companies are quite attractive and certainly no more than their historic averages, which means that across a whole range of different industries, we can find opportunities in companies with those core characteristics that I mentioned of strong balance sheet and good track record, trading at reasonable valuations. So we don't necessarily focus on one industry or one sector or one country. What we're really trying to do is find the best opportunities across Europe and where we can identify triggers for those share prices to appreciate in the short term.
So there are some dynamic companies and sectors and industry technologies out. So could you mention some of the technologies and sectors that you're currently focusing on?
Sure. Well, everybody knows that the European motor industry is the best in the world. And within Germany, we have the 3 leading motor companies. Now, they're big companies, but a lot of their components that go into your BMW or into your S-Class are coming from smaller companies in the German Mittelstand. And these smaller companies are investing a lot in R&D and then producing world-leading products to go into these cars that are leading the world in terms of technology. So we have the German automotive sector, or we have the Italian fashion sector, which may be a little bit on its knees at the moment as the Chinese aren't buying fashion, but is a strong sector for the future. And then across technology, there are some surprisingly strong French technology companies. So we can find opportunities in all sorts of niches where Europe actually has world leaders, and that's very exciting.
So which countries would you particularly focus on? So you already mentioned Germany, Italy, France, or are there also companies and countries in Eastern Europe?
We never invest in Eastern Europe. Our fund is focused on the developed Europe. So, for example, we don't have any investments in Greece. If you want to have an investment in emerging markets, I think you buy an emerging markets fund. And the great thing about smaller companies is they provide you with some of those growth characteristics of emerging markets, but in a developed market environment. And so we think that we can find great undervalued opportunities which aren't properly researched in smaller companies, but in a developed market context. And that isn't restricted to France or Germany, but across the whole of developed Europe, whether it's Spain, all the way to Finland, or the UK, and all the way to Italy. There's some great opportunities there.
There is also a lot of volatility right now in the market in Europe. Do you think this climate will remain this way, or what are your perspectives for the European market in general?
I'm afraid I'm not entirely sure. I'm not a top-down strategist. I would expect volatility would probably get worse before it gets better. However, what I am always focusing back on is the companies themselves and how much do I have to pay for them. And in that context, when you look at the long-term returns out of smaller companies, which are significantly in excess of the returns that have been generated by larger companies over the long term, and when you look at the opportunities that are out there, I think it's an exciting place to be invested.
Very interesting. And the fund is called Baring Europe Select. Nicholas Williams, thank you very much for sharing your expertise with us here today.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching. Do make sure to keep clicking back on the Dukascopy TV website for latest updates and exclusive interviews. Have a great day and see you next time.